Hello, and welcome to this Lute Society online intermediate lute lesson. It is a huge pleasure for me to be giving this session. It is my first one, so I hope you'll bear with me. I've picked out for us today one of my very favourite pieces for us to have a look at. This is Thomas Robinson's Merry Melancholy. And I'm looking forward to going through this in the next 15-20 minutes and picking out some of its problem areas and some of its lovely moments. There should be a copy of the score available to you, possibly in the video description. I've made for this video an edition from the original, and I've included with that a little page of warm-ups. We are today working in the key of B flat, or at least what we would today call key of B flat, and so I've included the scale of that key, some divisions you might want to play on that scale, and a sort of harmony map, some of the harmonies that we would expect to find in this key, and some of the spacings of those harmonies as we find them in the piece. And this is a very good place for us to be starting with today. It's worth remembering any piece of music is only the tip of the iceberg, and obviously our interest is in the tip, but if we want to really up our game and get into the piece, then it suits us to put on our diving gear. Merry Melancholy, viewed from the air, is, if not a pavan, then it's certainly very pavanine. It has a characteristic pavan rhythm, it is a stately duple time, and fits what we know of the aesthetic of Elizabethan pavans. Robinson does a very good job, I think, of capturing the mood of this paradoxical title. It's very reminiscent of Burton and the Anatomy of Melancholy. A very good thing for us to be doing at this point would be to count out the rhythm of the entire piece. Robinson doesn't give us a time signature. I would personally be counting this in 2/2s, or 2 minims to the bar. And so for the sake of exercise, what I would be doing, we'd be counting 1/2, put an and on the crotchets, 1 on the quavers. And so going from the section A1, this might look something like 1, 2 and a 1, 2 and a 1, 2, and so on. I would do this for the entire piece at this stage. And this is a useful exercise for a couple of reasons. One is that we all know the feeling of trotting merrily through the first section of a piece and then running into a big spiky wall of divisions, and that helps to forestall this. The other thing that can happen is that our conception of a piece tends to become very top-heavy, because when we practice, we start at the beginning, finish at the end. We have more focus at the start than we do at the end. And by counting through the entire piece in advance, we give ourselves a sort of rhythmic framework to hang the whole piece on, and that helps us to digest the entirety of it as a structure. Important point to notice, we are starting on an anacrusis, on an upbeat. We should, when we start, count ourselves in. Of course, this is fundamental stuff. The strong beat here is beat 1, the beat 2 is slightly lighter, and we should count ourselves in 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. And in this way, we will feel the lilt of the rhythm there. One of the side effects of an anacrusis, of course, is that it shunts the entire structure across by half a bar. So the start of the second phrase will be on bar, not at the start of bar 10, but on the second beat of bar 9. I should point out that in the edition I've made, for some reason the anacrusis bars are counted as bar numbers as well, so they're included. The piece is in 4 chunks, is the technical term. Each chunk is made of 2 8-bar phrases. We have an A section, divisions on that section, A1, B section, and divisions on that section. In the original, each section is capped with a dotted double bar line. But since we are already playing a set of divisions on each section, and since this dotted double bar doesn't always mean a repeat, I've decided to only put a double bar line at the end of each section, just as I think that it isn't really necessary to repeat. However, if you want to do so, you're very welcome. It's entirely to taste. So let's have a trot through the piece and see what we can see. An important point to make about this kind of 8-bar plus 8-bar structure is that we would typically, it's not a rule, but it's a guideline, a rule of thumb, is that we would typically anticipate a pause halfway through, and then a somewhat longer pause at the end of that line. Then we would expect to find, again, a pause halfway through and then a full stop at the end of this structure, at the end of the sentence. As I say, this is not a hard and fast rule. It's very much a rule of thumb. Robinson is not playing by this. In fact, as we'll see, he's playing off it somewhat. But it's a very useful thing for us to bear in mind as we play, just as a general thing that we might come to anticipate. And so for the sake of the exercise, I've included these punctuation marks, commas and semicolons, full stops, in the score, just so that we have an idea of where we're at, whether we're halfway through the phrase, at the end of a phrase, halfway through, or at the end of the section. Robinson introduces 3 voices for us at the start of the piece. Our first voice kicks off with, which is our top voice, kicks off with this rising fifth. This is joined in the second bar by our voice 2. This is voice 2, this is not a bass, this is an inner voice, and it starts on this rising fifth. And so in bar 3, we want both these notes to be ringing out. And crucially, we might also want to, if we can, mute the 4th string as we play this tablature D in the 3rd bar, just to make it clear that the voice is singing sol, re, and we'll hear something like and these voices are joined at bar 4 by our voice 3, which is a bass. And as this voice gets going, this occurs, you'll notice, at the halfway point where we have this bracketed comma. This starts to put a little bit more energy into the proceedings. And so Robinson starts to do that at this structurally strong point, our halfway point. You'll notice also at this point we start to get these quite wide leaps, this jump of a fifth, of a fourth, and the inner voice jumping up by fourths here. Where we have a sedate melody moving by step, this is more sedate. Where we have a melody that's moving by leap, that suggests more energy, and the wider the leap, the more energy this tends to suggest. We're building up towards, this build-up carries on into bar 7, where we move the rhythm from minims into crotchets, so we're double pace. And this all builds us up towards bar 8, where we have these big 4-part chords. This is our apex of the line. We've been led to expect by this point a 4-part resolution, and we don't get it. Robinson gives us only one voice, which is very anticlimactic. It's a very powerful rhetorical device, and it's well worth us bringing out. It seems to suggest very strongly the mood of the piece, this slightly melancholy mood. For the purists among us here at bar 6 into 7, if you can hold on to the second finger here, just so that the bass is clearly singing, then this will be very helpful and keeps the line going. As we go into the next line, into the next phrase, what comes up must come down. We've had these fourths leaping up, and now we have them falling. Of course, a falling fourth has a very particular connotation on a lute.
Here at bar 11, it can feel like we've reached the end of a phrase,
However, at this point the bass has only just gotten going, and so the phrase carries on. As we will have noticed from the first line, Robinson is thinking in terms of 8-bar phrases, so wide structures, and we'll want to keep them moving. To facilitate that, you may want to put a second finger here at bar 11, just to keep going. I find that makes things a bit smoother. Here at bar 12 into 13, we have a potentially tricksy shift. From first into third, it's only ever going to be a little bit of work for us. As my fourth finger comes down on this tablature D, my first finger's already ready for work on the grand barre. Something else I'm doing here that makes life a bit easier is I'm maintaining contact with the little finger on the third string. It's worth remembering that, now if we have come to the lute from the guitar, we will have been advised very strongly against this kind of glissando. Obviously it's completely the wrong ballpark aesthetically, and carries the very real risk of dragging a fret with us. However, we don't need to be playing a glissando in order to keep contact with the string. If we imagine a string as looking like this, a string isn't just on or off. When we're playing, we're pressing the string into the fretboard and then coming back up. And so it's possible for us to have a finger not hovering, but resting on the string as if it were a tightrope. And in this way we can maintain a sort of positive contact with the string as we make the shift, which just helps to shepherd the hand through this transition and then back down. A nice point to notice is that here at bar 13, what we've just resolved onto is a full spacing of our home chord of B flat. And this occurs, this is only the second time we've heard a B flat on a strong beat, I should think. Yes. So we're hearing a strong harmony on a strong structural moment, and that seems to suggest that we've reached a point here, reached a structural bit, reached the apex of the line, and that going forwards we can just unravel towards this cadence. Point to make in this cadential bar, very often the third finger gets anchored here. However, I think that what's going on is that the bass is singing, and therefore we'd want to lift the third finger there. Going forwards on a whistle-stop tour, I've suggested some fingering for the divisions. Something to bear in mind, at bar 21, this is our voice 3, our bass, and so we'll want to keep it held. Not so with the other divisions. This is voice 1, voice 2, and then this voice 3 is coming down. Moving forwards, here at bar 23, this fingering works because the bass here is moving up our voice 3. So this is not a bass voice that we need to sustain through the bar. That's a common misconception. Here at bar 25, again we have this cadential point, and we hear a very lovely chord on the second beat in that bar. This is a suspended fourth with the F in here, which faintly jangles against the other notes of the chord. We will want to bring it out, and although it is a beat 2, a lighter beat, something that I rather like to do here is to spread the chord, which just helps to sort of fan out the deck of cards and bring out the harmony. At least that's what I do. It's also rather effective if we we're then going into the same anticlimax. Moving forwards into the B section, Robinson pulls a couple of very lovely structural tricks here, which are well worth drawing our attention to. Again, you'll notice that he doesn't really pay much attention to the halfway point, but rather moves on through it. That in itself can be an effective gesture. We're playing the scale, building up, and we've just moved square through the halfway point. And so we'll want to feel a little bit of energy, a kind of lift there. Again, we go through the to a cadence. Nice 4-part chord there. Now look where we've peaked. We've resolved too soon. This isn't the halfway point. This is bar 7 in this phrase. As we carry on, I'm playing a thumb here on this line to bring out the bass. Helps to colour it. This is our halfway point. Whichever way you slice it, it's only one note. And the harmony in the bar is a 6, if we're thinking of it in that way, a light piece of harmony. And this is very, very effective. It's a really, really good trick for Robinson to pull. On the one hand, it keeps the piece moving, and on the other, it suggests that this is our strong structural moment here at the end of that phrase. And Robinson is telling us that the really important stuff in that phrase is not this grand cadence, but rather only a solitary note. And that helps to create the whole aesthetic and atmosphere of the piece. Looking forwards in bar 47, there is a 47 into 48. There is a somewhat tricky shift going from this again up into the third position here. Something that I'm doing here, or at least my strategy, I play the tablature C here with a hinged bar A, which I then bring up and fold over, which I find the easiest way to navigate this. And another trick that we can pull here, if we're so minded, is to prepare a little finger on this tablature F here on the 3rd string, which just provides a second point of stability for the hand, something to aim up towards. That at least is my policy here. So I think these are all of the really salient and challenging moments in the piece that we have time for now. So thank you very much for your listening in the last 20 odd minutes. If you have any thoughts, comments, ideas, questions, please do drop me a line. I hope very much that you will enjoy playing this piece, and I wish you many happy hours of merry melancholy.